بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله العلي الأرفق وجامع الأشياء والمفرق ذي النعم الواسعة الغزيرة والحكم الباهرة الكثيرة، ثم الصلاة مع سلام دائم على الرسول القرشي الخاتم. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everyone to our first class number 1 of Arabic 301, Introduction to Al-Balaagha. And I'm your instructor for this course, Abu Awza'i Abdus Salam. Alhamdulillah, today is our first class, as we mentioned, and it is simply an introduction to the course. But before we go into the actual dars, the actual lesson, I would like to remind myself as well as everyone here of 4 major important points that we should memorize and constantly remind ourselves of. And if you were in our class yesterday, inshallah ta'ala, this will serve as a review. But as Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said at the end of Surah Al-Dhariyat, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And remind, for verily the reminder, it benefits the believers. And may Allah Azza wa Jalla make us among the believers. Ameen. The first point is basically to rectify your intentions. The importance of ikhlas, sincerity. That as we are beginning this new course, you should only intend seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's face alone. And you should intend to draw close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via these classes. Okay, it shouldn't be to attain some type of worldly benefit. It shouldn't be to show off in front of others. You know, to show everyone that you're in a class, or these type of affairs, they're not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we look at the Islamic nusus, the Islamic texts like the Quran and the Sunnah Mutahhara, the purified Sunnah, which has come to us to be authentic, we find that there are many ayat and ahadith which speaks about the importance of being sincere, especially when it comes to learning the religion. From these nusus is a hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated by Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, من تعلم علما مما يبتغى به وجه الله. Whomsoever learns knowledge, what is normally used to seek Allah's face, okay, to attain Allah's pleasure, to enter Jannah. لا يتعلمه إلا ليصيب به عرضا من الدنيا. And he does not learn knowledge except to attain some type of worldly gain. عرضا من الدنيا, some type of gain from the dunya. What will happen to this individual? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has informed us, لم يجد أرف الجنة يوم القيامة. Subhanallah, وعياذ بالله من ذلك. Is that this type of person, these type of people, may Allah not make us from among them, these type of people will not smell even the fragrance of Jannah. They will not smell the fragrance of Jannah. يعني ريحها. Subhanallah bihamdi. Showing the importance of making your intentions for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And this hadith is collected by Imam Ahmad and Abu Dawood and Ibn Majah, rahimahumullah. We also have another hadith that has been collected by Imam At-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah ta'ala, from Ka'b bin Malik, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. That's the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And whenever you hear the name of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, don't be amongst the bukhala, the stingy ones. Rather, you should make dua for your Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, من طلب العلم ليماري به السفهاء. Whomsoever seeks knowledge in order to debate with the sufaha, yani the foolish ones. أو يجاري به العلماء, or to show off before the scholars. to show that he has some type of knowledge, she has some type of knowledge. أو يصرف به وجوه الناس إليه, or to attract people's attention, for the people to look at you and to ask you questions, and for people to think that you're knowledgeable, etc. What will happen to this type of person? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, أدخله الله النار وعياذ بالله. Allah will enter that person into the fire. May Allah protect us from that. And we also have another hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that has been collected by Imam Muslim in the Sahih, rahimahullah ta'ala, on the authority of Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, يقول الله تبارك وتعالى, that Allah says, so this is now a hadith Qudsi, okay? It's a statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla, as revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. أنا أغنى الشركاء عن الشرك. Allah Azza wa Jalla says that I'm absolutely free from having any type of want or desire in taking associates. من عمل عملا أشرك فيه معي غيري, whomsoever performs a deed while associating a partner with me, تركته وشريكه, then I have abandoned the person who committed shirk and as well as the associate. SubhanAllah. So Allah will never accept that type of action. Okay? Even if you have 1% or maybe 0.1% or maybe 0.00001% percent of you doing that action for other than Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never accept that deed. Your action has to be 100% for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that reason, many of the pious predecessors, they were fearful when they performed good actions. Okay, they feared that Allah did not accept it, because they knew even if it was just 1%, Allah would not accept it, right? So whenever they did a good deed, they will always seek istighfar, right? They'll always seek Allah's forgiveness after completing the action, hoping for Allah's reward and fearing His punishment and His rejection. Okay? And the last hadith we want to mention, collected by Imam Ahmad and also by Imam Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah as well, from the hadith of Abu Sa'id ibn Abi Fadala, who was from among the Sahaba, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, إِذَا جَمَعَ اللَّهُ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathers the first of people and the last of people, meaning every single person that ever existed, لِيَوْمٍ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, for a day in which there is no doubt in, subhanAllah, meaning Yawm al-Qiyamah, when Allah gathers everyone, when Allah gathers everyone on the day of judgment, نَادَ مُنَادٍ, a caller will call out, مَنْ كَانَ أَشْرَكَ فِي عَمَلٍ عَمِلَهُ لِلَّهِ, whomsoever associated in his deed a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning when you performed an action, you did it with the intention of pleasing other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَلْيَطْلُبْ ثَوَابَهُ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ, then let him seek that reward from other than Allah. Imagine that. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, when the truth is revealed, when yaqeen hits, when everyone is certain, everyone has been raised up and they're certain of Yawm al-Qiyamah, on that day in which you are truly in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, someone will call, فَلْيَطْلُبْ ثَوَابَهُ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ, let him seek reward from other than Allah. Subhanallah bihamdi. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَغْنَى الشُّرَكَاءِ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ, for indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of want or desire of seeking any type of partners. So just a reminder for myself, first and foremost, from these 4 ahadith alone, to rectify our intentions, brothers and sisters. Ahibbati al-kiram, my beloved brothers and sisters, Sallamakum Allah min kulli su' fi dunya wal akhirah. May Allah protect you all from any type of evil in this life and the next. We have to rectify our intentions, make sure that we are constantly seeking knowledge for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب. And that's the first point I wanted to highlight. The second point is that it's upon all of you to remain diligent in this course, throughout this course, to have al-hirs, okay, wal-juhd, to work hard and strive. Because in reality, we're studying al-Balaagha, and this is a more difficult science than other sciences in the Arabic language. So you're bound to come across things that you may not understand right away. Okay? So as a result, you have to work hard in understanding. Okay? You have to study, you have to spend extra time outside of the classroom to understand these masail, these issues. Okay? It requires you to memorize as well. There's some things in which you have to memorize. Okay? And Nahwu and Sarf, we were a little easy on the students, but for Balagha, we're not going to be as easy. Okay? The students here, you have to work a little harder. You have to make index cards. You have to take good notes. You have to write down definitions and memorize it. If you're يعني طالب متفوق, if you're like an excellent student, then we're going to mention some lines of poetry, and it's upon you to memorize these lines of poetry. Not to show off, but for you to preserve that knowledge, right? All right. These things helps a student to retain and recall. يعني يستدعي, recall that information. So it's upon you to be diligent in this class and work hard outside of class. It is said that if a class is 1 hour long, then you have to put in at least 2 hours, double the time outside of the classroom, to give that class its due rights in terms of the knowledge that's within. Okay, so please bear in mind with this, and try to work hard in your studies. The third point I want to highlight is basically a dua. You can never complete any of this, okay? You can never attain success in the dunya or in the hereafter except by Allah's permission. So you have to seek His aid and seek His counsel and seek His assistance and His help. Okay, you have to constantly make dua to Allah to grant you fiqh fi deen, understanding in the religion, wa fiqh fi lugha, and understanding in the language, Arabic language. Okay, sometimes when you learn something for the first time, it may be hard, it may be difficult, right? You may not understand anything, but you'll find out if you keep making dua to Allah, make istighfar, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that science easier after time. SubhanAllah. It's so true. Wallahi. Some things, when you first learn them, they're hard. You don't understand one bit. But then if you make dua and you keep making istighfar and you rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, increasing in your tawakkul, increasing in your relationship and strengthening your relationship with Allah azza wa jalla, you will find that Allah azza wa jalla will make it easier for you. And everyone should memorize this dua. وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. And say, oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Okay? This ayah in the Quran, the ulama, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not order His messenger to ask for anything in increase except for knowledge, right? He didn't tell the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say, increase me in rizq, or increase me in ibadat, or increase me in this and that. La. The only thing He ordered His messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask of Allah, ask of Himself, to increase in, is knowledge. And that shows the sharaful ilm, yani the nobility and the virtue of seeking knowledge. Okay, so constantly say, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. Very short and easy dua. Perhaps someone can write it in the comment section for those who have not memorized it, by writing the Arabic with tashkil and the transliteration, how to pronounce it in English. Good. So that's the third point. The fourth point is that you must find good companionship, because in reality, we're mankind, right? We're Bani Adam. And there's sometimes you feel lazy. It's normal. Okay? You don't want to study. You don't want to put in the time to learn knowledge. You may be tired, busy with school, perhaps you're busy at work. Perhaps there may come a time where you stop studying altogether due to what's happening in your life. That's normal. It happens to everyone. However, you have to continue to study, okay? You have to pick yourself up and continue to study. And the best way of doing that is by having good companions who check up on you and you check up on them. Okay, and you guys push each other. Always constantly push each other to increase in your knowledge of the Arabic language, of the deen, etc. Because you're a product of what's around you, right? You're a product of what's around you. Okay, if all your friends are wasting their time, then guess what you're going to be doing? You're going to be wasting your time. If all your friends are, learning Arabic, and guess what? You're going to be learning Arabic. SubhanAllah. And that's what happened to me when I first converted to Islam. Alhamdulillah. When I first converted to Islam, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed around me, like I didn't even ask for it. Allah placed me around brothers in the Queens area in New York who all were learning Arabic as a language. And I just converted. I didn't know anything. So I was like, all right, I'll hang out with them, and they're like one day, hey, just come to us with this class. Oh, come to this class, come to this class. And just like that, I just started to learn Arabic. And I didn't even have a desire to learn it. I just did it. Why? Because my friends were doing it. And subhanAllah bihamdi, look at that. Like, it's amazing. Allah Akbar. Allah is al-Mannan. And subhanAllah, here today I'm actually teaching Arabic. It's amazing. It's a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah make us from the grateful. May Allah make us from the shakirin. I mean, but the main point is basically have good friends. It's very important that you have good friends. And alhamdulillah, we live in 2018. So it's not only limited to having, friends in your community, but you can have, good friends online as well. SubhanAllah. Right? A person could be in Australia, a person could be in France, a person could be in India, Pakistan, Egypt, Yemen. Doesn't matter. America, Canada. And you can still encourage one another upon goodness. All right? You can all still encourage each other upon goodness. طيب. So those are just basically 4 quick points I wanted to highlight. It only took 15 minutes, but it's very important, okay? Because at the end of the day, if we don't have sincere intentions and we're not going to work hard and we're not going to make dua and we're not going to try to find good companionship, then you're wasting your time in reality, right? You're just wasting your time. So we have to constantly remind ourselves of these 4 points and apply it in our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us success. And with that being said, let's now begin with the actual lesson. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So today, inshallah ta'ala, what we're going to speak about are 2 very important terms, okay? And there may be some type of difficulty in today's class because, it's the first day of class and you don't know how I'm going to teach. And so just bear with me, okay? If you try to understand today's lesson, and I guarantee you today's is going to probably be the hardest lesson to understand. But if you understand today's lesson, alhamdulillah, everything else will be made easy, okay? And if you have any questions, you can ask during the class. Or if I haven't answered it during class, you can ask it again at the end of class, inshallah ta'ala. So today's lesson is regarding al-Fasāḥah and al-Balaagha. So what is al-Fasāḥah and al-Balaagha? I'm sure everyone has heard of al-Balaagha. I mean, of course, that's the name of the course. So if you haven't heard of it, then what are you doing here? But another word that we're going to study is al-Fasāḥah. Now, a quick, very summarized difference between the two, just to give you an idea of what they're about, is that al-Fasāḥah deals with the eloquence of the actual content of the speech, okay, of the kalam, okay. It deals with the actual content. While Balaagha, when we say Balaagha, then it deals with how one conveys that content to others, okay. This is the brief definition and difference between the two. This is just to give you an introduction. We're now going to go into details of al-Fasāḥah and al-Balaagha. I just mentioned it here so that you have a general idea. Okay, this is Fasāḥah, this is Balaagha, and this is how they're different from one another. Okay? طيب. So let's now begin with al-Fasāḥah and go into details. Okay? The first thing we're going to look at when we speak about Fasāḥah is the definition, the ta'rif. Okay, what does al-Fasāḥah mean in the Arabic language? Well, lughatan, here we say lughatan, and lughatan, when we say lughatan, and whenever you hear like a scholar say lughatan, then what's meant is the linguistical meaning of a word. Okay, words have different meanings. From them is the linguistical side. Okay, like for example, as-salah. What does as-salah mean in the Arabic language? We mentioned it yesterday for those who were present. As-salah, what does it mean linguistically? Good, ad-du'a. And linguistically means ad-du'a. Okay? Likewise, al-fasaha linguistically means al-ibanatu wal-dhuhuru wal-jawdatu. Al-ibanatu wal-dhuhuru wal-jawdatu. Which basically means yani clearness, clarity, and quality. Clearness, clarity, and quality. It is said, okay, now we're going to take a look at how this word is used in the Arabic language. We learned the definition. How is it used? It is said, fasuha. Fasaha is from the verb fasuha. Fasuha rajulu, which means basically once a person is able to speak fluently / eloquently in the Arabic language without any strangeness in his speech and pronunciation, it is said fasuha ar-rajulu. Okay? That the man became eloquent, the man became fluent in the Arabic language. Also from the verb fasuha is the word al-fusha. Al-fusha. Has anyone ever heard this word? Al-fusha? Good. Which basically means proper Arabic, right? The Arabic that was spoken in the time of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. طيب. It is also said أفصح الصبي في منطقه. That this is said once a child, like a child, طفل, or a صبي, a baby. صبي means like a baby, but it can also be applied to a طفل. Once they're able to speak clearly in the Arabic language, where they're able to formulate sentences without any mistakes, it is said afsaha. Okay, the first one fasuha, the second one afsaha. Same verb, root letters, but different forms. Okay, it is said afsaha as-sabiyyu fi mantiqihi, once the child is able to speak clearly in the Arabic language. Okay. طيب. Now let's take a look at an example of how the letters fa, sad, and ha, fasuha, the verb fasuha, is used in the Quran. All right. Here is a verse from Surah Al-Qasas, in which Musa alayhi salam, he said, وَأَخِي هَارُونُ هُوَ أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا. هُوَ أَفْصَحُ. And my brother Harun, he is more eloquent. هُوَ أَفْصَحُ. Okay, ism tafdeel, in speech than me. Okay, he is more eloquent in speech than me. So this is how the word fasuha or al-fasaha or afsaha or afsahu is used in the Arabic language. Lughatan. Everyone with me so far? Okay. Let's move on. Yeah, if you have to take a break, go ahead. You don't have to seek permission, inshallah ta'ala. Because it's an online class. I can't really tell if you get up and leave anyway. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll give everyone permission to, if you have like salah or whatever, go ahead, go make it. طيب. So that's the definition of al-fasaha. Now we're going to go into something very important. I want you guys to highlight this. Write it down and highlight it. Let's see if we can highlight it ourselves. Okay. That al-fasaha is a description that can be applied to a word, meaning kalima, a word, kalima. It can also be applied to speech, kalam. Speech, kalam, okay? And it can also be applied to a person, al-mutakallim. All right, it's a very important point. Now we're going to explain all three types, okay? The conditions where fasaha can be applied to a word, kalima, when it can be applied to speech, kalam, and when it can be applied to a person, al-mutakallim. All right? Or mutakallim. The first one we're going to explain is a word. So when is a kalima considered to be fasiha? For a word, kalima, to be considered as fasiha, then it must be free of, or it must avoid possessing three things. So three things cannot be in a kalima. And if a kalima is safe or free from having these three things, then one can say that this word is fasiha. Okay, this word is considered to be fasiha. So what are these three things? What are these three things? The first is that it must be free of something called tanafurul hurufi. Tanafurul hurufi. And the meaning of tanafurul hurufi is that the word, al-kalima, avoids letters that makes it extremely difficult to pronounce. All right? Examples. We have two examples. The first, hur, khur. Hur, khur. Everyone try to pronounce hur, khur. Obviously, in your home, try to pronounce it to yourself. Hur, khur. Sounds like you're about to like vomit or something, right? Hur, khur. You're trying to get something out of your throat, right? It's kind of hard to pronounce. All right. Now imagine speaking like you're speaking normally, and you try to say hur, khur in your kalam, in your speech. I mean, it's kind of hard to pronounce, right? Because the letters ha and ain, they have makharij, which are different from one another, and their sifat, their descriptions are different, are completely different. For that reason, it's hard to pronounce these letters together. Okay, it's hard to pronounce these letters together, and because of that, for a word to be considered fasiha, it must avoid a word like hur, khur. And what does hur, khur mean, actually? Some scholars say it has no meaning in the Arabic language, okay? It has no meaning whatsoever. Others say that, okay, if it has a meaning, then it means either it'll be like ism al-shajara. It's like a name for a trees or, tree. Or it's like they say nabat aswad. It's like a particular black plant, okay? So there's difference of opinion as to its meaning. However, this word it's been attributed to some Arab of the past that they use this word in their speech, okay? And one time a man was asked about his naqa, his camel. He was asked, Aina naqatuk? Where is your camel? The man responded, Taraktuha tar'al hur'a. Taraktuha tar'al hur'a. I left it to graze on the hur, which is speaking about, a bunch of trees or those plants we're speaking about, the black plants, okay? To graze among the hur. All right, so this shows that this word was used in the past. However, although it's used, because it's hard to pronounce, it's extremely hard and difficult to pronounce, this word is not considered to be fasiha, although it's used, okay? So what we benefit from this is that words can be used in the Arabic language. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that that particular word is fasiha. You understand? Doesn't mean that that word is fasiha. From these words is hur. Can someone type in the chat, if you're unable to hear the lecture, please leave the group and re-enter. Okay, a few people are complaining that they can't hear the lesson. So just type in the chat for me. Just leave the group and re-enter. I don't want to spend time doing that. Jazakumullahu khairah. So hur is one word. Another type of word, to give you another example, is mustashzarat. Try to pronounce this word really fast. Mustashzarat. Mustashzarat. It's hard to pronounce. All right? And the meaning, some scholars say that mustashzarat has no meaning. Mustashzarat has no meaning. Others say no, it does have a meaning, and it means murtafa'at. Something that is heavy or not heavy, sorry. That is high or raised, or it's like long. Okay. Here we have a line of poetry from Imr al-Qais. Imr al-Qais, he was from among those poets whose poems were hanged on the Kaaba before Islam in the time of Jahiliyyah. Okay, it's known as As-Sab'u al-Mu'allaqat, the 7 poems that were hung on the Kaaba in the time of Jahiliyyah. All right, he's considered to be from among those poets. Others say that it's 10 al-Ashru al-Mu'allaqat. Others say that it's 4. Others say that it is 9. Difference of opinion. But basically, if these poets right here, Labid and others, and some scholars also said that Abu Talib, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had a poetry called Al-Lamiyah. Al-Lamiyah, meaning a poem that in which each line of poetry end with the letter Lam. That Abu Talib, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned this. He said that Abu Talib, the level of his poetry, his poetry of Al-Lamiyah was deserving of being hung on the Kaaba. Okay? So, but it wasn't hung. He wasn't from among these poets. But Ibn al-Qais was from among these poets. Okay? So these poets, basically, when they wrote these poems were deemed as the most eloquent poems out there. Okay? And as a result, it is said it is written in golden water, quote unquote, and it was hung on the Kaaba. So Ibn al-Qais, he said, غَدَائِرُهُ مُسْتَشْزَرَاتٍ إِلَى الْعُلَى, which basically means here he's talking about, Ibn al-Qais, to give you a little background about his poetry, that he constantly would write poems about women and his unsuccessful attempts to, I guess, not have relations with these women, okay? And you'll find that many times he has a lot of his poems revolve around that, okay? And here he's speaking about a woman who escaped him, who he was not able to have relations with or be with. He's speaking about her hair, okay? He said that her hair was curled and it was mustashzarat, that it was very long, because her hair was very long from, it reached like towards her back, like the bottom of her back, okay? He said that if her hair was so long that it could reach up to something that is high, ila al-ula, like if something was high in the sky, her hair would be able to reach it. And obviously it doesn't actually mean that. It means that her hair was very long and very beautiful. Okay, he's describing her hair as being very long and very beautiful. Okay, he says that it would reach very high. And the A'rab, the poems, the Shu'ara, whenever they would use words like high, al-ula, al-irtifa, etc., then it usually denotes praise. Okay, it denotes praise. Also, whenever they refer something to the yameen, the right hand, or the right side, anything towards the right, it's also another form of praise. Okay, as opposed to describing something as being on the left side, or describing something that is lowly, asfal. All right, that is considered to be dispraise. All right, so but basically what we're trying to show you is that mustashzarat was a word used in the Arabic language. However, because of its difficulty in pronunciation, the ulama, the scholars of Lugha, specifically al-Balaagha and Fasaha, they say that it is not considered to be Fasiha. Although it's used in Arabic and it's even used in the poetry of Ibn al-Qais, because of its difficulty in pronunciation, it is not considered to be Fasiha. All right? Everyone with me? We're going to get to tongue twisters, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, this is just one word. It's a tongue twister in one word. But we're going to get to tongue twisters in an entire sentence soon, inshallah ta'ala. All right? So, to summarize, for a word to be considered fasiha, then it must be free of, / avoid possessing 3 things. The first thing, we only went over one, tanafurul huruf. All right, keep that in mind. We said 3 things. So what is the second? The second here we have the second and the third, B and C. The second is that that word, that kalima, must be free of having al-gharaba. And what does al-gharaba mean? Al-gharaba basically means strangeness, we wrote here, in terms of its makeup or meanings. Okay? So, words like takakka'a, right? People don't use this word. But the meaning of takakka'a is like a very rare word. Okay, is ijtama'a, to gather. Also, ifranqa'a. Ifranqa'a is another weird word. It has gharaba. People don't use that word. It's very rare. And the meaning of ifranqa'a is ibta'ada, which means to move away from. So takakka'a and ifranqa'a, two words which are considered to have gharaba in it. Strange. It's very rare that people use the words. And some scholars say that they don't even have any meanings. Okay? But others that do attribute a meaning to it, they say takakka'a means ijtama'a, ifranqa'a means ibta'ada. طيب. And one of our mashayikh here in Mecca, Sheikh Ahmed As-Sudais, Hafizullah Ta'ala, not Abdul Rahman As-Sudais, he's the Imam Haramain, the Qari, the famous Qari, but rather Ahmed As-Sudais. He's a professor, and he had there was a dawra, there was an intensive seminar in the Masjid Haram a couple months ago, maybe like in November, and he taught Balaagha, right? He taught a text in Balaagha. And when coming to this point, al-gharaba, he narrated a famous story that's been attributed or narrated by Isa bin Umar al-Nahwi. And then there's another narration that's attributed to Abu Alqama al-Nahwi. And he said one time a man, he was on his camel and he fell off, okay? He fell off his camel. And the people gathered around him. Okay? He fell off his camel and the people gathered around him. So seeing this, the man, he's on the floor looking at these people gathering around him. And he said, مَا لَكُمْ تَكَأْكَأْتُمْ عَلَيَّ تَكَأْكُؤَكُمْ عَلَى ذِي جَنَّةٍ إِفْرَنْكِعُوا عَنِّي. Just listen to that kalam. مَا لَكُمْ تَكَأْكَأْتُمْ عَلَى تَكَأْكُؤَكُمْ عَلَى ذِي جَنَّةٍ إِفْرَنْكِعُوا عَنِّي. And it sounds strange in the Arabic language. If you were to say that to somebody today, you'd think you're crazy, right? So he used two of these words in his speech. He said takakka'a to mean ijtama' and ifranka'a to mean go away. The meaning of what he said is that what is wrong with you all that you gather around me? Takakkatum, you all gather around me alayya. Okay? Ifranki'u anni. Yani move away. What is wrong with you guys? You guys gathering around me. I fell off my camel and you're all gathering around me, right? Move away. And the people, they're like, they didn't understand what he's saying. Yes, he's saying Arabic letters, but they're like, what does this guy say? Takakkuakum, ifranqi'u, takakkatum, yesh hada. And they did not understand. So here he used two words that had gharaba in it, and people did not understand what he was saying. And because of that, this kalima, takakka'a and ifranqa'a, are not considered to be fasiha. Okay? And the narration that's been attributed or narrated by Abu Alqama al-Nahwi, he said that after he said this, he made this statement, the man who fell, the people, or someone said, دعوه فإن الشيطان يتكلم بالهندية. He said, leave him alone. Yani, leave him. For indeed, shaitan is speaking Urdu or Hindiya, yani, the language of India. SubhanAllah. Right? They said, leave him. Yani, shaitan, for indeed, shaitan is speaking al-Hind. Yani, basically, shaitan speaking in tongues. So they thought he was shaitan because of the words that he was using. SubhanAllah bihamdi. I don't know if anyone found that funny, but yani, when the sheikh related that to us, like everybody was laughing. Alhamdulillah. طيب. So this is the second condition, that a word must be free from al-gharaba. Everyone with me so far? All right, alhamdulillah. The third and last condition for a kalima, remember we said this is going to be a kind of a hard class, so just bear with me, inshallah ta'ala. is that it must be free from mukhalafatul qiyas. What is mukhalafatul qiyas? It's basically when that a word, it must avoid constructions that oppose established sarfi forms. Yani al-qanun tasrifi. Okay? Sarfi forms. You know, in sarf, there are certain forms that are established in the Arabic language. Okay? If a word does not follow these forms, then that particular word is not considered to be fasiha. All right? An example, jalilun, someone noble, مثلا. If you were to put it or conjugate it into its ism tafdil form, you would say ajallu, correct? Just like shadidun, ashaddu, right? Madidun, amaddu, etc. That's the correct form for those type of words where there's two letters that are repeated in the origin. Okay? Now, instead of saying ajallu, which is the correct form, you would if you said ajlalu, like af'alu, ajlalu, if you were to say ajlalu, this would be considered opposing the established sarfi form. Yani al-qanun al-tasrifi. Okay? This will be considered as opposing the established sarfi forms, meaning those forms which are known in the sarf, in the knowledge of sarf, the science of sarf. Here's an example of this word being used in the Arabic language by Al-Fadl bin Qudama. He said, Alhamdulillahi al-Aliyyi al-Ajlali. Al-Ajlali. He said al-Ajlali. However, what's more correct and better, or rather what is correct and better to use, is Alhamdulillahi al-Aliyyi al-Ajallu, or al-Ajalli. Al-Ajalli. Okay? However, he used al-Ajlali, and because this type of verb doesn't take that form, this word is mukhalafatul qiyas, and it's not considered to be fasiha. All right, so those are three conditions regarding a word, okay, where it has to be fasiha. Now, here we have bain al-qawsayn that some scholars add a fourth condition. Okay, let's see if we can highlight this. They add a fourth condition, and that is a word must be free of al-karaha fi as-sam', which basically means a word, meaning the way a word sound is difficult on the ear. So basically, any type of word that is difficult on the ears, if you hear it, and it's like difficult for the sam', when you hear it in the Arabic language, then that type of word is considered to be a mani', a preventer from kalima taking or becoming fasiha. All right, like al-jurasha, like in the poetry, mubarak al-ismi agharri al-laqbi or laqabi kareem al-jurasha sharif al-nasabi. Al-jurasha. All right, they say here al-jurasha is al-karaha fi as-sam'. However, other scholars say that this fourth condition people add, in reality, it falls under B, al-gharaba. Okay, it's a category of B. So there's no need to make it a new condition. All right. So therefore, words. Let's repeat this statement right here. For a word to be considered as fasiha, then it must be free of and avoiding possessing three things. All right, we have it here. The first being, it must be free of what? Tanafur al-huruf. The second being, it must be free of al-gharaba. And the third being, it must be free of mukhalafatul qiyas. This is the correct opinion in terms of a kalima being considered as fasiha. And all these three points, conditions, can be memorized in this line of poetry. Okay, this line of poetry that was made by a scholar in the past and explained by one of our mashayikh here in Mecca, a Sheikh Muhammad al-Amin al-Harari al-Ethiopi. Okay, he's another scholar here in Mecca. He teaches at Dar Hadith al-Khairiyah, which is another school here in Mecca University. And he's from Ethiopia. Just like the Sheikh we mentioned yesterday, Sheikh Muhammad Ali Adam al-Ethiopi, from the major scholars of Hadith and Nahu and Arabic language. He was from Ethiopia, or he is from Ethiopia. Also, this Sheikh is also from Ethiopia as well. And both of them are living, Hafidhahumullah ta'ala. He explained this line of poetry, and the poetry says, فَصَاحَةُ الْمُفْرَدِ أَنْ يَخْلُصَ مِنْ تَنَافُرٍ غَرَابَةٍ خُلْفٍ زُكٍ. One easy line, if you memorize it, خلاص, you already memorized the three conditions of a word being فصيحة. فصاحة المفرد أن يخلص من, يعني the fasaha of a mufrad, يعني kalima, is to be free from أن يخلص من تنافر, يعني تنافر حروف, that's the first condition. غرابة, second condition. خلف زكن, خلف يعني مخالفة القياس, the third condition. All right, you don't have to memorize it, but if you want to make it easier for yourself, and you want to yani, have that knowledge with you after this course and outside of this course, then it's better for you to memorize these lines or this line. It's very short and easy to memorize. Alhamdulillah. طيب. And what we're going to do now is basically, and this is what I want everyone to do at home, inshallah ta'ala, is that in order to truly understand and get a better picture of these conditions, you should always make a tasjir, like a diagram. The diagram, if you write it down, the diagram is going to help you visualize the conditions and يستوعب, يعني it'll help a person to understand these conditions. So for example, let's write fasaha I'm writing on my screen, so it's a bit hard. We have fasaha in a word. And of course, you'll do this at home and you'll write better. We have two in what? In kalam, speech. And then you have what? Number 3 is speaker, person, right? متكلم. Okay. Now, so far we only we spoke about a word, correct? So we write underneath word A, you write tanafur huruf. Tanafur. I'll just write tanafur because there's no space. B, al-gharaba. C, just said it. ايوه مخالفة القياس. Let's write مخالفة. القياس. So you'll make a tasjir like this, okay? Like you write in Arabic, you write kalima here. All right, and you must write be free of, okay? Salamatun min, to be free of. A, tanafur huruf. B, al-gharaba. C, mukhalafat al-qiyas. Speech, you write kalam. We didn't explain this yet, but we will. Speaker, mutakallim, etc. Mutakallim. I'm writing on my screen, so it's a bit difficult. But that's essentially what you want to do for every portion, okay? And this will be homework. At the end of the class, today's homework would be to make this and make this diagram, this tasjir, and to fill it out and to write examples under each, okay? Everyone understand? Okay, the line of poetry is فَصَاحَةُ الْمُفْرَدِ أَنْ يَخْلُصَ مِنْ تَنَافُرٍ غَرَابَةٍ خُلْفٍ زُكٍ. No, not examples of your own. Yani the words I gave you. Yeah, you write the examples I gave you. All right. طيب, so that's a word, okay? We explained a word, number one. Now let's move on to number two, al-kalam. Al-kalam, speech. So, to repeat this very important statement, Fasaha is a description that can be applied to a word. We explained that already, al-kalima. Speech, number two, speech, okay? Now let's go into kalam. When is kalam considered to be fasih? Extra ta here. Let's erase this. When is kalam considered as fasih? All right. Kalam, speech, is considered to be fasih once it is free from or avoids three things, okay? Meaning if one of these three things are found in kalam, in speech, then that kalam is not considered to be fasih. All right? A, number one, the first thing is that it must be free from tanafurul kalimat. All right? For kalima we have, it had to be free from tanafurul huruf. Okay? Here we have tanafurul kalimat. Words, not letters, but words. Meaning the entire speech must avoid words that are difficult to pronounce when bunched together. An example. The story that is mentioned by Al-Khatib Al-Qazwini, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book, Ajaib al-Makhluqat. And basically the story is that there was a type of jinn which is known as Al-Hatif. Like Hatif, what you have today, like a phone. Back then, a Hatif wasn't a phone. It was a type of jinn. Okay? And it is basically a jinn whom one cannot see, but they can hear. Okay? Jinns, people can hear jinns, correct. All right? That's why when people say they hear stuff, don't think they're crazy. I mean, if they're hearing stuff and they're truthful in their speech, indeed, they are certainly hearing things. May Allah protect us all from that. And our families. So a hatif is this type of jinn where you can hear him or her, but you cannot see them. And this jinn, this hatif, this type of jinn, yelled to Harb bin Umayyah. Harb bin Umayyah was the father of the famous companion Abu Sufyan. And also Abu Muawiyah. He yelled or he screeched, and he yelled to Harb. And then shortly after, Harb died. Okay, after he yelled at Harb died. So the jinn said, and this has been reported by those who were there, they heard this voice saying it, but they were not able to see this jinn. وَقَبْرُ حَرْبٍ بِمَكَانٍ قَفْرٍ وَمَا بِقُرْبِ قَبْرٍ حَرْبٍ قَبْرُ. طيب. Try to pronounce these two lines 3 times very fast at home. Try to pronounce it very fast at home. Go ahead. Like actually try to say it out loud 3 times very fast. And it's very hard, correct? Something very, very hard. So, too many coughs, exactly. It's too many coughs. And this is like a real tongue twister, right? Like like in English, how much chuck could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Now try to pronounce that very fast 3 times. Yeah, it's difficult, yani. Okay, so because these words are difficult to pronounce, okay, when bunched together, this type of speech is not considered to be fasih, okay, because it has tanafurul kalimat. All right, and basically the jinn is saying here that the harb wa qabru harbin, and the grave of Harb, meaning the man, bi makanin qafrin, is in the place of a desert, in an area that has no vegetation nor water, desert. Okay, because Harb died in the desert, and the jinn was, and he's saying that. And it is also said in this story, it's kind of strange. It is said in the story that the reason why this jinn yelled was because Harb, as he was walking, they had like heavy boots or whatever, or boots at that time what they had, and as Harb was walking, he stepped on and killed a black snake, and it turned out that black snake was a jinn. So the other jinn who witnessed that, when he yelled at Harb died. Okay? And then that jinn, Al-Hatif, he went to his companions and told them that Harb died in a secluded place, in a desert. Okay, that was his qabr, his grave. And that's the background of the story. Allah knows best how true that is. However, this is what has been omitted by the Bughala or ulama of Balaagha. طيب, Balaghiyun. Khayran. So that's the first condition that speech must be free from, tanafur kalimat. The second is something called ضعف التأليف وتركيب اللفظ. And basically what that means is that the entire speech must avoid contradicting grammar rules. Okay? Remember when we spoke about kalima, that it must avoid contradicting or using rules that contradict rules in sarf. Here in kalam, in speech, it must avoid contradicting grammar rules, okay? Al-Qanun al-Nahwi, and their proper formations. For example, the statement right here, قام أخوه محمد يخطب. قام أخوه محمد يخطب. Yani this is considered to be ضعف التأليف وتركيب اللفظي. Because if you were to say قام أخوه محمد يخطب, قام, he stood. أخوه, his brother, Muhammad. That makes no sense whatsoever. Yani, the correct formation or the correct tarkib should be قام محمد أخوه يخطب. قام محمد أخوه يخطب. This is the correct formation. But to say قام أخوه, to precede أخوه, or to bring that before Muhammad, that's considered to be incorrect. And مخالفة للقانون النحوي. Okay, and it contradicts the structure or the يعني نحو, the grammar structure. All right, so this is B. Kalam must be free from ضعف التأليف وتركيب اللفظ. And C is that it must be free from something called التعقيد. التعقيد, what is that تعقيد? تعقيد is basically that the speech must avoid confusion. And ta'qeed is broken down to two types. You have التعقيد اللفظي, yani confusion in words, meaning the type of word that you use. Okay? The word that you use in Arabic language, it cannot cause confusion. For example, جفخت بهم أنسابهم. جفخت, yani there's some type of gharaba, correct? Some type of strangeness in this word. جفخت. And the meaning of جفخت is رفعت. رفعت. Okay, رفعتهم. The intended meaning is that their ansab, their lineage, because of their lineage, right? Their lineage raised their status. Okay? So instead of saying رفعتهم أنسابهم, this person said جفخت. جفخت. Yani it caused confusion when you hear it in Arabic language. And because it caused confusion via the lafz, via the word itself, then it's considered to be a ta'qeed al-lafzi, and this type of speech is not considered to be fasih. So that's the first type of ta'qeed in terms of words. Jafakhat instead of rafa'at. طيب. Now the second type is something called at-ta'qeed al-ma'nawi. So the first is lafzi, the second is ma'nawi. All right, it cannot cause confusion. The meaning of the kalam, the meaning of the speech cannot cause confusion. Like for example, ba'atha al-hakimu lisanahu. If we were to say ba'atha al-hakimu lisanahu, the ruler sent his tongue. You don't understand what does he mean by that. The whole meaning of the sentence makes no sense, right? Rather, what should be said is ba'atha al-hakimu uyunahu. All right? The hakim, the ruler, sent his eyes. Okay? What does that mean? Does that mean when you say ba'atha al-hakimu lisanahu, does that mean the hakim cut off his tongue and he threw it somewhere? Or does it mean that if you say ba'atha al-hakimu uyunahu, does that mean the hakim he took out his eyes and he threw it somewhere? Doesn't mean that, okay? Lisan means something and uyun means something. What does uyun refer to? Uyun refer to jasus, spies. So when you say ba'atha al-hakimu uyunahu, the ruler sent his eyes, what's intended is the Jasasis, right? The spies, correct? So that's the correct formation of this type of statement. بعث الحاكم عيونه. The ruler sent his spies. If you said the ruler sent his tongue, then the meaning causes confusion. How can who is the tongue? Right? His messenger? Right? Who is considered to be his tongue? Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. Okay? طيب. Everyone with me so far? So to recap, speech, in order for speech to be considered fasih, then it must avoid having A, تنافل الكلمات, B, ضعف التأليف وتركيب اللفظي, and C, التعقيد. And ta'qeed, يعني confusion, either via words or via the meaning of these statements. Okay? جفخت instead of رفعتهم, and لسانه in terms of meaning instead of عيونه. طيب, everyone understand it so far? طيب. All right. Now, between these two, يعني قوسين, the parentheses, some scholars add a fourth and fifth condition to this, يعني, for kalam to be considered fasih. They add a fourth and fifth. And they say that it must be free of one, كثرة التكرار وتتابع الإضافات. Okay? كثرة التكرار is the first one. وتتابع الإضافات. And basically what كثرة التكرار means, too many repetitive words. Okay? If speech has too many repetitive words in it, then it's not considered to be fasih. Likewise, and here we wrote we should write in brackets. We wrote what is considered and intended to be repetitive under this view is more than once. So if you mention a word more than once, that's considered to be a tikrar. كثرة التكرار. Okay? Also, it must be free from tatabu' al-idafat and many successive possessive phrases. So, for example, in English, saying of. Yani using that idafa, the possessive phrase, a lot. For example, Kitabu Muhammadi, Bayti, Masjidi, كذا وكذا وكذا. You have each like idafa, mudaf ilayhi, mudaf ilayhi, mudaf ilayhi, like mudaf, like that. That type of construction. Okay. However, these two additional conditions that these scholars say or add are in fact incorrect. Okay. Because they are used in the Quran and Hadith. Also including tatabu idafat is when you have a lot of idafa. Like here we have an example. Rabbana, O our Lord, Rabbana, mudaf ilayhi, correct? That's one. In the same speech, Atina, grant us, ma wa'adtana ala rusunika. Okay? The second, tatabu idafat. Right, this is Surah to Ali Imran. Surah Ali Imran. Rabbana wa'atina ma wa'adtana. O our Lord, grant us what you have promised. Ala rusulika, upon your messengers. Okay, or promise to your messengers. What you promised us to your messengers. Okay, here we have one idafa, and here at the end of this portion of the verse, another idafa. All right, Allah uses it in His kalam. Here another example. ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ عَبَدَهُ زَكَرِيَّا. The beginning of Surah Maryam. Okay, ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ عَبَدَهُ زَكَرِيَّا. ذِكْرُ, and mention the mercy of your Lord upon His slave Zakaria. مضاف, رحمتي مضاف. All right, ذكر مضاف, correct? رحمتي is مضاف إليه, is مضاف إلى ذكر, correct? But also rahma is also considered to be mudaf to Rabbi. Okay? So rahmati is mudafun ila dhikru, and it's also mudaf for Rabbi. Alright? Now Rabbi is mudafun ilayhi, or yani mudaf ila rahmati, but it's also considered to be mudaf for ka. And ka is mudafun ilayhi for rabbi. You guys see that? Like this rahma works as both mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. Rabbika, it works as mudaf ilayhi. And ka works as mudaf ilayhi. All right, there is tatabu' al-idafat in this one statement. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses it. And because Allah Azza wa Jalla uses it in the Quran, or if the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used it in a hadith that are sahihah, then it's not considered to, or rather it is considered to be fasih. That kalam is considered to be fasih. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all mankind, and He has perfect knowledge of the Arabic language, right? How could He make a mistake? It's impossible. It's غير معقول. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay? So because Allah uses tatabu al-idafat, this fourth or fifth condition, tatabu al-idafat, is incorrect what the scholars add. Also, kathru tikrar is also incorrect. Why? Because we have a hadith here in Sahih Bukhari, in which the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Al-Kareem, Ibn al-Kareem, Ibn al-Kareem, Ibn al-Kareem, Yusuf bin Ya'qub, bin Ishaq bin Ibrahim alayhim as-salam. Here he says al-Kareem 4 times, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that not tikrar? Is that not repetitive words? The same word used it more than once? It's 4 times. Okay? However, this is not considered to be a condition that prevents a word from being, or rather, kalam from being fasih. Because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used it, and we know that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was among the most eloquent of people. Okay, he was given jawami'ul kalam, the ability to say few words that had a lot of meanings, right? And that was a proof of his eloquence. Okay, and he did not make mistakes in grammar, no sarf, no balagha. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore, this 4th and 5th condition that some scholars add towards kalam and being fasih are actually incorrect. They're incorrect, okay? Now, going back to the first 3 conditions, which are correct, therefore, if speech is free from / avoids possessing all 3 of these points, then it's considered to be fasih. All right, and these 3 points can be summarized in this line of poetry. Just as we gave you a line of poetry for kalima, this is a line of poetry for kalam. وفي الكلام من تنافر الكلم وضعف تأليف وتعقيد سلم or سلم. Should be a fatha here. سلم. وفي الكلام من تنافر الكلم وضعف تأليف وتعقيد سلم. All right. وفي الكلام من تنافر الكلم. Okay. تنافر الكلمات. كلم means كلمات. وضعف تأليف, this being the second. وتعقيد being the fourth. Salam meaning being free of. Okay? Guys with me? Once again, to remind everyone, you want to constantly try to review what you're learning, okay? And constantly focus on this tasjir, fasaha, fasaha. 3. 1 is word. And we explained it, right? 1, 2, 3. We're not going to write it again. The second being speech. The speech must be free from what? One, or rather, write the shurta. Tanafurul kalimat. Tanafurul الكلمات. Okay, number 2, what? ضعف التأليف. التأليف. And 3 being what? تعقيد. And of course, under ta'qeed, you want to write lafzi, ma'nawi. And then you provide examples for each, right? You provide examples for each of these points, different points, all right? This tasjir, this diagram is going to help you in recalling this information. طيب. So that's fasaha in terms of kalima and kalam. All right, right now it's almost 3:30. What do you guys want to do? You want to take a break before beginning class number 2? Take a quick break to help everyone digest that material. Then we come back fresh. طيب, inshallah ta'ala. So we're going to end the class here. I'm going to you know what? Let's keep class number 1 and class number 2 is one video. How about that? Let's keep it one video. I don't want to break it up. So let's keep today's class as one video. Class number 1, class number 2. Inshallah ta'ala. I'm just going to pause the recording and then we'll return at, right now, what time is it? It's 3:25. 15-minute break. Is that sufficient? 15-minute break? Okay, so we'll return back at 3:40. 3:40, we will return to this class, inshallah. I'm going to keep the classroom open. However, I'm going to pause the recording. All right? سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم. Let's resume recording. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our second session, which is class number 2, essentially, of Balaagha, Arabic 301, Introduction to Balaagha. So previously, as a quick review, we spoke about al-Fasaha, its linguistical meaning, how it's used in kalam, in speech, and how it's used in the Quran. And then we began speaking about Fasaha in terms of kalimat, words, and the conditions in which a word is fasiha. Then we spoke about kalam and the conditions which must be avoided in order for kalam to be fasih. Now the third aspect is al-fasaha being applied to a person, mutakallim, al-mutakallim. Okay, that's the third thing or type. And al-kalima and al-kalam is detailed, right? As for a person, al-mutakallim is not as detailed. A person can be considered al-fasih, as fasih, either by it being a gift from Allah, mawhiba min Allah azza wa jalla, right? Some people, like, it's a natural fitriya, yani it's a natural gift in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given someone to be eloquent, right? To be fasih. Or a person can become fasih by learning, okay, through learning and studying and working hard, etc. And a muktasaba, it can be something that is gained over time. Okay, so if we were to add to this, and that's simply it. If we were to add to this tasjir, person, we write mawhiba or fitriya, and number 2 is what? Muktasaba. All right, and of course you're gonna do this again for homework, inshallah ta'ala, much neater than the way I wrote here. I'm writing on the screen, but and with the examples, that'll be the homework for today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And that's basically al-fasaha. Everyone understands al-fasaha and how it's applied to a word and when it's applied to a word and when it's applied to speech and when it's applied to a person. Okay. Now that we spoke about al-fasaha, let's begin speaking about al-balagha. Al-balagha, lughatan, right? The linguistical meaning of balagha is al-wusulu wal-intiha. Yani to reach something, to reach al-wusul wal-intiha, and an end point. Okay? It is said in the Arabic language, balagha al-wafdu al-madinata, that the delegation, al-wafd, reached balagha al-madina. Okay? Balagha means to reach. Al-wusul or intiha. The delegation reached al-Madina. Okay? In the Quran, here we have a verse, فَإِذَا بَلَغْنَا أَجَلَهُنَّ. This is from Surah At-Talaq. And when they have nearly fulfilled their term. فَإِذَا بَلَغْنَا أَجَلَهُنَّ. And when they have nearly completed, nearly reached their term. Okay, nearly reached, nearly fulfilled, etc. That's how the word Balaagha is used in the Arabic language. However, we also have an istilahi meaning. Istilahan. So for Fasaha, we only study the lugha meaning. Okay? And then we studied how Fasaha is applied to kalima, kalam, mutakallim. Now for Balaagha, we just studied the lugha meaning, the linguistical meaning. Balaagha has an istilahi meaning as well. And when we say istilahi, what we mean is basically a technical meaning. What do we mean by technical meaning? Technical meaning is basically, what does Balaagha mean to the scholars of Balaagha? Okay, when the scholars of Balaagha say al-Balaagha, what do they actually mean by that word in that science? Okay, so this is a second type of definition. Okay, and this is different from a third type of definition, which is called shar'i or shar'an, the legislative meaning. Okay, legislative meaning, shar'i or shar'an, is basically a definition set by Allah Azza wa Jalla or His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A definition that has come straight from the text. It's called shar'i or shar'an. As for a definition that has been placed by mankind for a particular science, you would name it istilahi or istilahan. طيب. So then, what is Balaagha? Istilahan. This is something for those who want to earn a certificate and get a high score on the exam. You have to memorize in Arabic and understand it in English. Okay. The definition of Balaagha is kind of long. Let's read it together. It is تأدية المعنى الجليل واضحا بعبارة فصيحة صحيحة لها في النفس أثر خلاب مع ملائمة الكلام للموطن الذي يقال فيه والأشخاص الذين يخاطبون. All right. In this definition, there are 7 conditions that must be met in order for Balaagha to mean al-Balaagha istilahan. Okay. There are 7 conditions in which the ulama of Balaagha consider obligatory to be in speech in order for that speech to be considered Balaagha or baligh. So the meaning of this bait or this definition is Balaagha provides a beneficial or noble meaning that is clear, meaning by clear, like what is intended by the speaker, and his intended speech is clear, by using expressions which are also clear, so the expressions have to be clear as well, and free from grammatical errors. These expressions have a moving effect, okay? It has an effect to the listener, okay, on the listener. The speech is also given at the appropriate setting according to the level of the audience. All right, so the words that are bold are the conditions in English. All right, the first condition that Balaagha must have is ta'diyatul ma'na al-jalil, is that it must have a beneficial or noble meaning. Okay, so if it's a kalam, if it's a speech that has no meaning, no beneficial meaning, it's just kalam, right? Just speech, just words, then that kalam is not considered to be baligh. Okay, it's not considered to be part of Balaagha. All right, it must have a beneficial or noble meaning. It must benefit, something beneficial. Secondly, the kalam, it must be wadihan, it must be clear. Meaning what the speaker says, it must be clear and it must allow you to understand the intent of the speaker. Okay? If he's speaking in tongues like the man, right? ما لكم تكأتم علي تكأكؤكم على ذي جنة افرنقوا عني. That's not واضح. That's not clear because when you hear that kalam, you don't understand his intent. What is he saying? Okay? So it must be clear, the intent of the speaker. 3, that speech must use expressions which are also clear. Okay, so what the speaker is saying is clear, and the expression he uses is also clear. Okay, so you understand the intent of the speaker, what he says, what he means by his kalam, and the speaker is using expressions which are also clear. Okay, the fourth condition is that the expressions must also be free from grammatical errors. Okay, there can't be any mistakes in grammar. Okay, if you make a word nasb instead of jar, if you make a word in a state of raf instead of jazm, مثلا, then that's a mistake in grammar. Number 5 is that the kalam must have a moving effect on the listener. So it must have an emotional effect on the listener. When the listener hears it, it affects his emotions. Okay, so in somehow, some way. لها في النفس أثر خلاب. All right? Or a charming effect. It has some type of effect on the listener. Number 6 is that this type of kalam, it must be given at its appropriate setting. So what do we mean by this? What is meant is that if you're in hafl zawaj or zafaf, if you're like in a gathering, like a wedding ceremony, okay, and you were to give a speech, the speech that you're giving must be munasaba. It must be appropriate for the setting, right? So if you're going to give a speech at a wedding, you wouldn't start speaking about the death of somebody, right? As if you were in a funeral, right? You wouldn't give the same speech as if you were in a funeral. SubhanAllah bihamdi. As if you were in a funeral, right? Because it's not the appropriate setting for that type of speech. Azah. They say azah is a type of speech you give at a funeral. You wouldn't give that type of speech at a wedding ceremony. All right? So the speech must be at the appropriate setting. And it also must be at the level of the audience. So if you're speaking to children, you have to speak to them in a way which they'll understand. You won't use very complex words. If you're speaking to college, school students in high school, there's a certain way to speak to them, right? You use mufradat, words which are appropriate for their level. Likewise, you speak to college students, college graduates, professionals. There are different ways of addressing them. Okay? When kalam fulfills all of these 7 meanings, or conditions, that kalam is now considered to be baligh. And this is the intent of Balaagha by the Balaghiyun, the scholars of Balaagha. You guys are with me? Good, very good question. Is Balaagha in writing only and also in speech? Balaagha is in writing and also in speech, both. Okay, any form of communication, if it fulfills these 7 conditions, then it's considered to be baligh. ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. Good. Right, so فصلت. Okay. Any other questions? I'm not sure why you mentioned that verse, but طيب. Now, Balaagha, we said al-Fasāḥa is a description that can be applied to what? Let's see if we can bring this down. Where is it? Here we go. We said what? Fasāḥa is a description that can be applied to a word, speech, and to a speaker. So you can say that a word, kalima fasīḥa. You can say kalamun fasīḥ. You can say mutakallim fasīḥ or rajulun fasīḥ. Imra'atun fasīḥa. However, al-Balaagha is a description that can be applied only to speech and a person. Okay? So you can say al-kalam fasīḥ. That's correct. Al-rajulu, al-kalamu baligh. Al-rajulu baligh. You can say that. However, if you were to say al-kalimatu al-baligha, that's incorrect. Or balighatun, it's incorrect. You cannot describe a word as being baligha. Okay? It doesn't apply here. And now we're going to go into Okay, that we're going to segue into the important differences between al-fasaha and balagha. Okay, we learned about al-fasaha and we learned about al-balagha. Now we're going to compare and contrast between the two. And that's going to help us to understand both of these terms in a deeper sense as well. Okay, so the first difference is that, as we just mentioned, balagha can be attributed to speech or to a person. You can say kalamun baligh, rajulun baligh. While fasaha can be attributed to a word, speech, and to a person. So you can say kalima fasiha, you can say kalamun fasih, rajulun fasih. So that's the first difference between balagha and fasaha. So if it comes on the exam, what are the differences between al-fasaha and balagha? 1, you write this down, this point, this star point. 2, as a result, not every fasih is baligh, but every baligh is fasih. What does that mean? Basically, if you were to like draw it, let's see if we could draw it. Okay, not every fasih is baligh, but every baligh is fasih. So basically, when you talk about fasaha and balagha, let's say that this black circle is F for fasaha, okay? Within this black circle is balagha, okay? So balagha is actually within fasaha, all right? However, fasaha is awsa' min al-balagha. It's more expansive. It contains more things like yani kalima, okay? So basically what this means, meaning a person could be eloquent in their speech, in their words, but it does not necessarily mean that they are able to convey that information to others. However, anyone who's able to convey that message, they are considered to be eloquent. Okay, before we explain meaning a person can be eloquent in their speech, before we explain this line, does everyone understand this point? As a result, not every fasih is baligh, but every baligh is fasih. Everyone with me so far? So can we say only kalimas which are fasih? So yeah, so a kalima can only be fasiha, but it cannot be considered baligha, according to this opinion, which is the most correct opinion. Wallahu a'lam. All right, good. Meaning, a person can be eloquent in their speech, okay? Someone could have fasaha in their speech, correct? And they can also have fasaha in their words. But it doesn't necessarily mean because they're eloquent in their speech and their words, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're able to convey that message to others. You understand? Sometimes people are very eloquent in their speech, but to teach things to other people doesn't necessarily mean they can do that. Okay? However, someone who's able to convey meanings, someone who's baligha, who's able to convey meanings, it doesn't someone who's able to convey these meanings to another person, then that person is considered to be fasih as well. So baligh, someone who's baligh, who's able to convey meanings to others, they're automatically going to be fasih. However, someone who's fasih, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're able to convey those meanings to others. You understand? You guys with me on this? We say that because fasaha includes words, right? While balagha does not include words. Balagha doesn't deal with words in that sense. You can't say kalima baligha. It doesn't deal with words. It only deals with speech and a person. It doesn't deal with individual words. Okay? And that's the next point we have here. We said what? Balaagha. The next difference, that balagha deals with the attributes of words along with their meaning. So when we say attributes of words, it doesn't only deal with words, but it deals with those words in terms of their meanings in a sentence, in kalam. Okay, that's what we mean by in this statement right here, is that it deals with attributes of words and their meanings in kalam, in speech, while fasaha deals with the attributes of words but does not focus on those meanings in kalam. Okay, it doesn't focus on the meanings in kalam. All right, this is another difference. Some scholars mentioned this. We decided to include it as well. And of course, a difference of opinion regarding this fourth one or third one, not fourth one, or third difference. The third difference. There's some difference of opinion regarding this statement. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Al-Muhim, if you understand that Fasiha deals with words, speech, and person, that's good. But Balagha deals with speech and a person. طيب, everyone with me so far? And that's the end of Al-Balagha and Al-Fasaha. All right? Now, for homework, inshallah, you're going to make two, put F here, you're going to make two diagrams. Put F there, B here. Fasaha, Balagha. If you could write, Fasaha in Arabic, if you're writing Arabic, it's better. Fasaha. I can't write Arabic here because I'm trying to write on my screen and it's not really working. Balaagha. Okay? Balaagha is broken down into two types. Fasaha, 3. First type, you write it there. Second type, you write it there. Fasaha, first type, write it there. Second type, write it there. Third type, write it there. And then you give like the conditions. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right here, you just write what? Kalam. Mutakallim. Okay? And then at the bottom here, from this point right here, you write the differences. Like differences between Balaagha and Fasaha. All right, and then you write 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay? And that'll be your homework. And this is going to help you if you do the homework, inshallah ta'ala. It's going to help you in preparing for the exam. And more importantly, it will help you to understand the science and visualize it in your head. Okay, if you could write it down on a piece of paper or maybe print it on a piece of paper and then post it on your wall, right? Every lesson, like just on your bedroom wall, whatever, just post it on your wall or tape it on your wall so that every day when you see it visually every day. And it's going to stick with you, inshallah ta'ala. Yes, you need to submit this. Yes, you have to submit this. This is going to be homework. Do it right after class. It'll be sufficient. Yes, the person must be mahir. They must be proficient in the language. For students who are registered for the course, you would submit it in the discussions group. Sisters, you have your own discussions group. Brothers, you have your own discussions group. You submit it in those groups. All right. Now let's continue. This is supposed to be the second class. However, or this is supposed to be the beginning of the second class. However, this is going to be the middle of the second class. And it's basically, now we're going to speak about Balaagha more in depth. The science of Balaagha is broken into 3 categories, 3 different sciences. You have Ilm al-Ma'ani, Ilm al-Bayan, Ilm al-Badi'. And when we get into each science, we're going to provide a detailed explanation of each science. As well as as well as other pertinent information, inshallah ta'ala. So the science of Balaagha is broken down 3 categories. So today, when you study Balaagha, you're going to study 3 different sciences. However, as Balaagha was being compiled, okay, there were ulama who considered Balaagha to be one science, okay? And then there were some who said Balaagha were 2 sciences, okay? And over time, as Balaagha developed, over time, that's how we got into 3 different sciences, okay? And that's how we have 3 sciences today. As we said here, however, there are some scholars who held different categorizations. Some scholars counted all three of these, ilm al-ma'ani, ilm al-bayan, ilm al-badi', under the name of ilm al-bayan. Okay, so ilm al-badi', ilm al-bayan, ilm al-ma'ani were all considered to be ilm al-bayan, according to those scholars. And under ilm al-bayan, they would study all three with their details. Others considered ilm al-ma'ani to be one separate science, and the other two, meaning badi' and bayan, as being ilm al-bayan. And this was the view of Zamakhshari, Sahib al-Kashaf, al-Mu'tazili. He was a scholar of the Arabic language in the past. He has a tafsir book called Al-Kashaf, which is one of the reference points for any student of knowledge, advanced student of knowledge who is firm in Aqidah. And the reason why we say firm in Aqidah, because our scholars, they advise us before we go into Al-Kashaf to have a strong basis in Aqidah. Why? Because as the Zamakhshari, he had some corrupted beliefs in terms of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his attributes. So if a talib mubtadi', if a beginning student of knowledge begins to read as the Zamakhshari, they're not able to differentiate what is correct and what is incorrect. However, a talib, a student who is, mahir, proficient, right? And he's skilled, abqari, in Aqidah and other sciences, then he's able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Okay, so we don't encourage anyone to read Al-Kashaf unless you are well equipped to read that book, okay? In terms of your Aqidah, your Lugha, because the stuff he speaks about in Lugha is very advanced. So it's not for a beginning student of knowledge. Rather, it's for those who are well-versed or mutawassit, at least. And this was the view of Zamakhshari, that al-Balaagha was broken down into ilm al-ma'ani and it was broken down into ilm al-bayan. And bayan contained al-badi' wal-bayan. And then other scholars considered all three sciences as ilm al-badi'. So they considered ilm al-bayan, ilm al-ma'ani, ilm al-badi' all as ilm al-badi', 3 in 1. And this is not something strange or something that's only specific to al-Balaagha. Okay, this happened to many different sciences. Like, for example, the categories of Tawheed. Who knows the category? What are the categories of Tawheed? What are the categories of Tawheed? Does anyone know? When you speak about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are basically 3 things, or I gave it away. All right, good. Let's people answer. There are 3 things you speak about. You speak about Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of his lordship, his rububiyyah. You have what else? Uluhiyyah, his worship. And then you have what else? His names and attributes. Okay? So you single out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of his rububiyyah, his lordship, and you single him out in terms of his worship, meaning ubudiyyah, his worship, and his uluhiyyah, his divinity, his oneness, and you also single him out in terms of his names and attributes. However, this is the 3 types we have today, right? This is what we know Tawheed as. However, in the past, you'll find different scholars, they had different categorizations of Tawheed, okay? Some said that a Tawheed wasn't three categories. Rather, it was only 2. You had lordship and names and attributes as one category, and as a second category, his worship. Okay. This was some of their taqsimat, their categorization. They consider it to be 2. All right, because lordship and names and attributes. The reason why they have 2 here is because lordship, rububiyyah, the mushrikun, they believed, the polytheists in time Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they believed that Allah was the Lord. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتُهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ آخِرَ آيَةٍ لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهُ. They would say it is Allah. If you were to ask who created the heavens and earth, etc., they would say it is Allah. They knew that Allah was the creator. Okay, so the messengers weren't sent to call the people to his lordship. That was something ma'ruf in their time. It was known. Likewise, his names and attributes. Some of the mushrikun, they all agreed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names and attributes. They agreed in those names and attributes. They didn't make any tahrif or ta'til yet, right? So the messengers, they were sent to call the people in singling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out in terms of his worship. And for that reason, they made worship into its second category. And they gathered lordship with asma wa sifat. Then you have other scholars who say that Tawheed is broken down to 4 categories. You have these 3, as mentioned above, and the 4th being following the messenger. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They consider ittiba' al-Rasul to be part of Tawheed. Why? Because Allah sent that messenger. So because Allah sent that messenger, it's obligatory for you to follow that messenger because it's sent from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay? So they made it to 4 categories. Some scholars deem it. And there's other different categories mentioned by other scholars as well. But just basically what we're trying to say is that this taqsimat is not only special or to Balaagha, but rather it's also applied to Aqidah. There's also in Hadith, right? There's examples in Hadith, Mustalah Hadith. They have different taqsimat, categorizations for the same thing, right? Like, for example, when you study Mustalah Hadith, the conditions of a Sahih Hadith, right? What is it? It must have ittisal sanad. The sanad, the chain of narration must connect. Everyone has to meet. It has to be proven that each person in the chain of narration has met one another, at least. Okay? 2, the narrators must be religious people. They can't be, they must have adala, as they say, adala. They must be upright. 3, the narrators must have excellent memory. Okay? Excellent memory. 4, the metin, the actual text of the hadith cannot have anything strange in it, shudud, nor can it have something that is ma'lul, ilal, can't have any defects. So some scholars like Tirmidhi, he had these 5 conditions as a sahih hadith. But then you have other ulama who say that the conditions of a sahih hadith are only 3. Ittisal sanad, dabt al-rawi, wa adalatuhu. Only 3. Okay? So, it depends. Like this taqsimat is not only specific to al-balagha, rather it's applied to aqidah, it's applied to hadith, it's applied to fiqh. Okay? So that's the point we're trying to make here. Is everyone with me so far? All right. So let's move on. Let's move on to the stages of compilation and development of the science. The science of Balaagha, there are 3 main stages. The first stage being Balaagha. The science of Balaagha was originally, exactly, categorizations are constantly evolving. Well, now it's not evolving anymore because so much time has passed, and the ulama, may Allah have mercy on them all and reward them all with good. They exerted themselves to, to develop these different sciences. Today, alhamdulillah, we just have to read and memorize and understand. We don't have to make more taqsimat. Good. So stage 1 is basically sciences of Balaagha were studied along with books of Lugha, Adab, and Naqd. Okay, so Balaagha wasn't a separate book. It wasn't a separate science studied by itself in this first stage. Rather, it was studied along with Nahu, it was studied along with Sarf, it was studied along with other different sciences of the Arabic language. And books that had this type of, or that are considered to be under this stage are Al-Kitab by Sibawayh, right? Al-Kitab by Sibawayh, the famous grammarian. As we mentioned yesterday, Al-Kitab is not actually a title that Sibawayh gave the book. Okay, Sibawayh didn't give his book the name Al-Kitab. It was actually attributed to him by others who came after him, because he didn't give an unwan, a title to his book. Others decided to call it Al-Kitab. However, to say that Sibawayh called his book Al-Kitab is incorrect. Okay. Another book is Ma'ani al-Quran by Al-Farra, very beneficial book. He goes over almost every ayah in the verse, and he derives every rule that he's able to in terms of Nahu, Sarf, Balaagha, etc. from these verses. There's a 3-volume printing out available in different stores. Majaz al-Quran li Abi Ubaydah, another beneficial book. فحولة الشعراء للأصمعي. نعم. البيان والتبيين والحيوان للجاحظ, another beneficial book that contained Balaagha and other sciences. And then the book by Ibn Qutaybah, الشعر والشعراء وأدب الكاتب. Okay, these books contained the sciences of Balaagha as well as other sciences of Lugha. Then stage 2 came, and this was when Balaagha was first separated from the other sciences of Nahu, Sarf, etc., and taught separately. Books by Kitab al-Badi' by al-Mu'taz al-Abbasi. He was the first to separate al-Badi' into its own separate book. And then you have other books here mentioned. Okay, these are some other books mentioned. And then you have the third stage. The third stage is very important, okay, to memorize these books as well. These books is important to memorize. It's going to be an exam. And these stages are going to be important. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3. That's going to be an exam as well. Stage 3 basically deals, Balaagha was then broken down to different sciences as we know of today. Okay, so first Balaagha was taught with Sarf, Nahu, etc. Then Balaagha was taught by itself as its own separate book. And then stage 3, Balaagha was broken down into 3 categories. All right. The first to make the science of Ilm al-Badi', the Wadi', it is said it is Ibn al-Mu'taz al-Abbasi in his book Kitab al-Badi'. And the first to make the science of Ilm al-Ma'ani and Ilm al-Bayan is a famous scholar, very important to memorize his name, Abdul Qahir al-Jurjani. Okay, Abdul Qahir al-Jurjani, rahimahullah ta'ala. He has 2 famous books which are essential for any student of Balaagha that they have to study, okay? But they're very advanced. The first book is called Dala'il al-I'jazi. In his book Dala'il al-I'jazi, this is where he created, quote unquote, Ilm al-Ma'ani and made it into its own science. And then the second book he wrote was Asrar al-Balaagha. And this is where he quote unquote, created and made Ilm al-Bayan into its own science. So after this point, after this third stage, that's when other ulama, scholars started to talk about Balaagha in 3 different parts. Ilm al-Ma'ani, Ilm al-Bayan, Ilm al-Badi'. Okay? Time is it? So it's 4:30. I wanted to speak about, so we said today we're going to begin our study of Ilm al-Ma'ani. However, I don't know if time will suffice. Inshallah ta'ala, it's already 4:20. So I think that'll be sufficient for today, inshallah ta'ala. Next week, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we'll begin with Ilm al-Ma'ani and look at different different sciences or topics covered within Ilm al-Ma'ani, and inshallah ta'ala, that'll be it. And then we'll start next week bi'idhnillahi ta'ala with Ilm al-Ma'ani. طيب, any questions? Any questions from the students? Okay, so if there's no questions, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end the class here. Hope everyone's able to benefit. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make us from among the mukhlisin fi deen. May Allah make us of those who act upon what we learn. May Allah Azza wa Jalla grant us beneficial knowledge. Subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.